What's up, everybody? It's Crocodile Dundee here with another certified hood classic. As you can see, if you just look behind me here, I am recording this during the day, so I can just get the full-fledged burning of the sun on my skin the moment I step outside. How's everybody doing? How's your days been going? How's life been going? For me, it's been pretty alright, man. We're through another month of dropping bangers, man. Hopefully, June can be an even greater month of dropping bangers. For today's video, we gotta talk about something that I might have tackled before in a previous video talking about mainstream music. But instead of talking about mainstream music specifically, I wanted to talk about the longevity of modern hip-hop artists. So recently I was reading an article talking about the decline of hip-hop in the modern era of music. From 2020 to 2023, the hip-hop genre has had a slight percentage decline in the market, going from 28% to 26%. And when you look at it, it's like, well, that's really not a lot, which, I mean, in reality, it's not. If you were to really take a step back and take a look at everything within the hip-hop scene, you can kind of see that there is some sort of decline within at least the mainstream hip-hop sphere. And if there was another thing that was pointed out in that article, it was how hip-hop used to be this rebellious piece of art that was created for and by black culture, and it's now been kind of dumbed down, gentrified, and commercialized, and that has, I feel, greatly lowered the barrier of entry, and in a sense it's also greatly diluted the current hip-hop sphere. Now, I know I've criticized old heads for a lot of points in my videos, you know, because as it goes, man, I don't really like when old heads, you know, give a lot of shit to modern hip-hop. But what I will say is that when we are talking about the barrier of entry and towards the rap game today, I'm gonna be honest, it is pretty low now. It's a lot lower than it's ever been. I mean, guys like Ian, Ice Spice, Sexy Red, Coach Ice, Ken Carson, and many more have shown that the rebellious phase that hip-hop was before has been phased out for something that's more easily digestible, more easily consumable for a more wider audience, and something that's a bit more trendy and that's been heavily pushed by the labels because they believe that the kids will like it. But I will say this, while there are a lot of old heads who like to criticize the rappers themselves, I will say this, it is not exactly the new generation's fault to why hip-hop is the way it is. If anything, I would say it's more of the executive's fault or the label's fault. It's more of corporate's fault. Hell, you could even blame capitalism for this, because it's funny how a lot of problems that come up in America usually just tend to end up with capitalism being a problem, but I digress. You don't necessarily have to blame the rappers themselves. But let's be honest, right? If I was rapping, or if you were rapping that's watching this video, right, y'all probably making the same kind of music that a lot of these modern rappers would be making today, all right? At the end of the day, we're all just products of our time. That doesn't necessarily make us the problem. Because I mean, we could even go into a blast into the past and really just take a look at how hip-hop has been turned into this sort of commercialized form ever since the early 2000s that initially was meant to be more marketed towards black people by, you know, corporate executives and whatnot, just to try and get our money and exploit our sound, as it usually goes. All right, so for all my non-black viewers out there, which would be most of you, there used to be a thing called BET, right? And that stood for Black Entertainment Network. And growing up, I used to watch a lot of BET with my family. You know, we used to watch 106 in Park or whatever sitcom reruns they had going on air. But if there's one thing that stood out to me, it was definitely the commercials. Because if you didn't watch BET, one thing you would have seen was that, you know, commercials usually had majority white people in it. But if you watch BET, one thing you realized was that commercials had majority black people in it. And with the black commercials, they usually had some very generic hip-hop instrumental over it, you know, something that maybe appealed to the brothers and sisters, even though BET is ran by a bunch of white guys in tailored suits, but whatever. But the point I'm trying to make by bringing up BET is the fact that corporate executives, little by little throughout time, have sprinkled the hip-hop sound in whatever black culture thing they can sprinkle anywhere else to try and exploit, you know, throughout all kinds of different facets of media and whatever stuff that we would consume, until once they saw that it was profitable from the black community, and then they started spreading it out to other different communities until everybody wanted to be like Chief Keef. And this became a bit more obvious in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Like, do y'all remember those Sprite commercials from back then, man? Like, if there's one thing I definitely want to say is that I don't know how Sprite is able to market itself so much to black people, because I'm gonna be honest, bro, I don't think I ever really liked Sprite that much. Like, as a kid, I liked Sprite simply because it was soda and I didn't have to drink water. But like now as an adult, I really don't even care for Sprite or damn near any soda at that matter. So I don't know how Coca-Cola keeps marketing the Sprite to black people. This shit is killing us, dog. But of course, we still get that iconic Drake commercial in which he turned into a transformer. And then there was that one time Vince Staples sold out because Long Beach niggas are weird. And now we have Sprite doubling down so hard that now they're putting rappers on the cans and calling it Obey Your Verse now. Like, basically what I'm saying is that, you know, these music executives and the labels and the corpo heads, they've oversaturated the hip-hop sound and imagery. You know, it's like they've removed the lean and and only gave us just fat in our beef, you know what I mean? And now that people have gotten tired of consuming all that fat, now we're pursuing other genres of music we want to listen to, you know? Like, just going back to the artists I discussed earlier, all right? If there's one thing about a lot of these artists and stuff like that in the music nowadays, it's the fact that I'm starting to see new artists come out of the woodworks like every day. You feel what I'm saying? And it's not something like to say everybody's a plant, but it definitely feels like these music labels are just tossing contracts to anybody who can make something that can trend on TikTok for like a week, you know? It doesn't matter where they came from, who they know, or if they're lying in their songs or not. All that matters is can they have top 5 on a billboard or not? Which I actually think that's part of the reason why there are so many industry plant allegations, because it's hard to truly see an artist's growth when they just constantly keep popping up out of nowhere, you know? And I mean, it just leads right back into the point about oversaturation, you know? We're being overfed new hip-hop artists like every other month, and that's destroying the longevity of their own careers, and it's destroying the longevity of the genre itself, because it's becoming kind of tedious to keep up with every new name that has $1 million backing, or maybe that's just me. So there was a show called Atlanta that I used to watch, and it actually ended a couple years ago, and on the last episode, it actually tackled the interesting topic of how white corporate executives have taken things that black people have created and essentially remolded it, reshaped it to be more suitable for wider audiences, while at the same time still marketing said product to black people as if it was for us, by us. You know what I mean? In a sense, it was kind of like a commercial blackface. But to be more specific on the scene, it was actually a 5-minute monologue in which the guy who owned this soul food Japanese fusion restaurant told the main cast to go look at the Popeyes across the street, and he said this.
That's the future. That's our future. Salted and battered, being sold back to us in our own image.
And while this quote isn't anything special if you actually do pay attention to how a lot of things tend to be marketed towards black people, this quote I feel still sits with me for quite a bit of reasons. With the main reason being the fact of this is exactly how modern hip hop is being marketed, not just towards black people, but towards everybody now. It is salted and battered and sold right back to us in our own image. We got industry plants hiding the plant allegations. We got street beasts becoming popularized and fetishized now. We got suburban kids rapping about catching bodies. And we got guys using hood imagery to promote fugazi R&B because they know the people would pay attention if they did that. This is what mainstream hip hop is now. This is what's being sold right back to us. And this is also what's being promoted to younger generations and serving as an introduction piece to people who haven't even heard the genre before until now. And it's also the reason why this genre has been on a steady decline. I mean, I seriously can't think of any long-standing artist past 2017. Like, a new guy will come in, he'll get a hit single, he'll sell 30K first week, flop on a sophomore, and then he'll fall off. Like, that's just been a pattern now. Like, essentially, it's kind of like a sweatshop, you know, or like an assembly line, you know? And then especially in this new age of the internet, for these labels, it's became a lot easier for them to be able to scout talent. So that assembly line, you know, that sweatshop, it's never going to end until it just collapses on itself. I mean, you don't even have to look at the music, just look at the TV shows. I mean, we all know that terrible Good Time animated reboot that came out, man, and how it had the audacity to take this beloved black TV show that taught, you know, all these morals and values and whatever, and you turn it into this animated minstrel show that just fuels negative stereotypes about black people. Seth MacFarlane, I don't know, like, if you do anything else aside from just make Family Guy clones. That's just my thoughts on everything like that. Let me know how y'all feel about the slight decline of hip-hop within the mainstream. Listen, I'm talking too much. This vest is big, and it might not look like it, but it's kind of heavy. It's Men's Mental Health Month, alright? So go ahead, call up your homie and tell him that you love and appreciate him, and if he ever needs anything, you can always lift his couch for him. It is also Pride Month. To all my LGBTQ plus homies out there, I fucking love you. You're the greatest people ever, and some of the nicest people that I know, especially in a society in which people really don't like you for being who you are. All right, take care of your mental health, love yourselves. I'm out. Peace.
This is my area, and I'm afraid to fuck you because your ass is full of bacteria.